they're going to say, look, Mike, I hear what you're saying, or Father Brown, I hear what you're saying, Alex, I hear what you're saying about what Pope Francis has said, and blah, 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 blah. But he seems to give us mixed signals by the company he keeps. And they might point out certain problematic Jesuits. There's great Jesuits, Father, you're one of them. But then there's obviously some problematic ones, right? And so they're going to point out, well, there's some Jesuits who are very friendly, and Pope Francis is very friendly with them and receives them in private audiences and all of that. And they're going to say, but see, you can't just listen to what Pope Francis says on the question of homosexuality. You have to look at the company he keeps and the people that he writes letters to and seemingly endorses. Father, what would you say to people who have that concern right now?
I mean, my goodness, if the Pope has like a litmus test for who he's going to talk to and all that kind of stuff, it's certainly, I don't know how clearly the Pope does not want to be judged that way, or else he would just say, look, let's just all remember that the Pope has been the Pope for what, like 10 years now. Yeah. If he intended to say that gay marriage is fine, he would have just said it. If he wants to ordain women, he would have just said it. And if it's so, okay, if he spent time with all these people who were pro-gay marriage or pro-women's ordination, all that, and it still didn't change him, then I think that it's a mistake to say that the company he keeps is like this informal magisterium. Like, I just think that that's the wrong way to look at it. We have all the evidence in the world to see that over 10 years, he hasn't done what people said he might do. He just hasn't done it. If they're basing their thoughts about the future based on the company he keeps, that's just not where it's at. I think the Pope likes to hear what what people say. And I go back to, I think of like Humani Vitae, right? Pope Paul VI had a whole commission that he put the people on the commission that were going to be on that commission to study the issue. They all came out, said nothing wrong with birth control. And then he wrote Humani Vitae. So like, I think he's even said it. Pope Francis even said how much he admires Pope Paul VI. So I think he's following the same playbook. Talk to everybody, even people who disagree with you. And it might even help your answer mature, right? It might even help your answer to a question mature, because you get to hear and you get to steel man everybody's argument, right? I think that's the playbook he's following. I think it's a mistake to say because he's friends with this person or that person, or keeps up with them, just even interacts with them and writes them personal letters, right? That somehow he's actually trying to undermine the faith by this informal magisterium. I think that's just a mistake.
So Reason in Theology is growing as a channel. As a result, there's been a number of increases in production costs. So if you're benefiting from RNT, I ask that you consider supporting the channel. You can help out by contributing to the Help RNT Grow fundraiser on GoFundMe. You could also consider becoming a member on Patreon at patreon.com/Reason in Theology, or become a channel member right here on YouTube. With either of these options, Patreon or a YouTube member, you'll get extra access to patron-only content. You can also donate directly to RNT at PayPal if you prefer that option. And you can find links to all of these resources and ways to support RNT in the show description. God bless. Alex, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think that actually a valid criticism that you could make of Pope Francis is some of his appointments, some of the appointments that he's made. And again, that's in hindsight, because we realize it's only afterwards that we find out certain things. Yeah. But I think that goes back to how sometimes, the Pope and even some of the cardinals, they might not have like their finger like on the pulse of what's really going on with certain people. I think that there's something like 420,000 Catholic priests in communion with Rome, and it's hard to keep track of all of them. And you could criticize some of his appointments. I think that there have been some maybe some imprudent decisions, but I think that it took 10 years, but I think that Pope Francis is just now starting to kind of realize that some of the people that he's given certain responsibilities maybe weren't the best for the job. And I think that now that he realizes this, he's starting to kind of try and fix those things. And I think that Cardinal Fernandez is a good example of that. I think that he gave Cardinal Fernandez the job because I think he said, I finally found someone that I think can kind of keep his finger on the pulse more of what's really going out in the streets, so to speak. And I think that so far, Cardinal Fernandez has actually been he's been able to like anticipate things that have happened very recently. It's almost like he can anticipate that they're going to happen, and he's ready to give a response. So I think that that is evidence for Pope Francis maybe realizing that he hasn't always appointed the best people for certain jobs, and that maybe now with Cardinal Fernandez, I hope and pray that we're starting to maybe see like we're like turning the corner now, and that he's maybe trying to start to fix some bad appointments. And yeah, maybe it took 10 years, but I guess better late than never. And I think it shows that I think there's more of an awareness now of that. That they need to be a little more careful about who they're giving certain jobs.
Yeah, and also I'll point out that some of the people that Pope Francis has received in private audiences, he doesn't necessarily agree with them.
Right.
So some of these people that, they might be people that he's received privately, then they might be problematic. Pope Francis will say things like, homosexual unions are not a marriage, whereas these individuals would actually say, yeah, they are a marriage. So Pope Francis clearly doesn't agree with them.
Right.
I also wonder the extent to which Pope Francis is even aware of some of these individuals and what all they believe. Because what I've noticed is some of these people put their best foot forward, and they'll say things like, hey, look, my ministry to LGBT people, what I'm trying to do is show them that they're made in the image and likeness of God. And I'm trying to show them that God loves them and that the church welcomes them to the church. And all of that is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's welcome to come to the church and to receive confession and the Eucharist in that order. Everybody's welcome to receive the grace of God, and everybody needs to know they're made in the image and likeness of God. Those are good things. So some people, I think, will put their best foot forward, but then you might not see what else they're saying behind the scenes, or just in more remote parts of the internet where they start to push the envelope and question church teaching. I doubt very seriously Pope Francis sees that stuff. He's not even on a phone, let alone is he on Twitter to see what so-and-so says on Twitter or in some article. So he's not seeing that.
Yeah.
And so for us, it looks confusing because we think, wait, hold on now. Hold on. You're praying for that person's ministry. Oh, okay. But their ministry also includes an undermining of the faith that you yourself are against. Like you yourself are opposed to this undermining of the faith. And so that's why we tend to sometimes see what looks to be mixed signals. I honestly think in a lot of cases it's just ignorance. We don't even know what the person is saying, and we're unfortunately endorsing them more than we should.
Yeah. Or the Pope doesn't even care. I mean, he might just not care. Like he may say, hey, I like a lot of what you're doing. I don't care about the stuff that you're doing that I don't like. I'm not an ideologue. He hates the concept of an ideologue. He's said that a million times. And so it's almost a way of putting his money where his mouth is. Look at me meet all these people and hang out with all these people. I'm not such an ideologue that I can't do it. I mean, I do you remember when Donald Trump got elected? And he had Kanye West come and visit him, right? And he had all of these different people, like all kinds of wacky people come to visit him. No offense, Kanye West or anybody else who was wacky, but like he had all these people come to visit him, and like people were cheering for him. People were saying, "This is great! Look at him! Look at him! Just kind of like sample America, in his office. If you were famous enough, you got to meet with Donald Trump. It was great. Like I think that where I think that the Donald Trump and the Pope are not as different as some people think.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see the full video, go to the link in the description. And also, while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. God bless. What if there's a better Christian community than Catholicism? One that has true apostolic doctrines and a more beautiful and ancient liturgy, and freedom from all that Pope baggage and valid sacraments too. That's what Eastern Orthodox apologists are selling. In a time of uncertainty and confusion for many Catholics, Orthodox challenges to the Church's history, teaching, worship, and authority structure have been drawing Catholics away in hope of greener pastures in the East. But those thinking of jumping off the bark of Peter toward the siren song of Eastern Orthodoxy, and Protestants who'd like Catholicism's historical pedigree without all the mess, need to think twice. In Answering Orthodoxy, I show why with a thorough and critical refutation of Orthodox attacks against the Church. As one who has been Eastern Orthodox, I hope to offer some knowledge and experience to uncover the flaws in the most common anti-Catholic arguments from Orthodoxy's top advocates. From intricate doctrinal debates to the historical flubs and foibles of the popes, right on down to the basic understandings and misunderstandings of the sacraments Catholics and Orthodox share, but don't always agree on. Answering Orthodoxy shows where Orthodox attacks go wrong. In doing so, I not only attempt to strengthen Catholic conviction in the truth of the faith, but also show the Orthodox that there's not as much distance between them and the Church as they might think, and unity with Rome might be closer than ever. Whether you're frustrated with today's church and find yourself attracted to Orthodoxy's antiquity, beauty, and religious rigor, or you're just looking to learn the best Catholic responses to Orthodox arguments, Answering Orthodoxy will equip and edify you. Go and purchase your copy today.